Thanks to you at home for joining us this hour as well. There's a lot to get to tonight. It has been a busy news day. Mondays in August are not supposed to be busy news days, like by definition. This is supposed to be sleepy time, but those rules don't apply anymore. In particular, the Trump administration has been busy, apparently leading up to today, so they could simultaneously launch two new, hugely controversial things. One of them is a proposed rule change that will gut the Endangered Species Act. The other one is a proposed rule change to make sure that immigrants don't get let into this country unless they have lots of money. Give us your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free. They're not explicitly going out of their way to exclude people who are tired or huddled, but poor apparently is definitely no longer part of the equation as far as the Trump administration is concerned. I mean, each of these two proposals from the Trump administration would be the most controversial policy change in most presidencies over the course of an entire year. They're doing both of these ones today, this Monday in August, literally on the same day, targeting bald eagles and the Statue of Liberty, because America. They've been working on both of these proposals for a while. They have both now been finalized as new rules. The rule change gutting the Endangered Species Act will be entered into the Federal Register this week, and then it's due to go into effect in 30 days. The anti-immigrant one is due to go in effect in 60 days. Realistically, though, you should consider those to be best-case scenarios for the Trump administration in trying to pull both of those things off, because well before 30 days or 60 days, they're going to have their pantsuit off of them over both of these proposed changes. On the immigrant rule, one of the amazing things about how they're trying to do this is that they are trying, first of all, to ignore the 250,000 public comments that came in on this proposed rule change. 250,000 public comments, almost all of which were against it. They also just decided they were not going to bother to even estimate how many people would be affected by this new rule, which proclaims that only rich immigrants are welcome anymore. I mean, they literally don't even try to guess what the impact of this change would be. They're just insisting they're going to do it anyway, which is not the way that policy is supposed to be made. But the details of it, the details of that immigration change are things that are very hard to square with what we know about ourselves as a country. For example, this new rule change from the Trump administration would make it grounds to turn you away from this country if you don't have private health insurance. You're supposed to arrive having that already in hand. You know how weird private health insurance is around the world, right? It would also be grounds to turn you away from this country if you have a low credit score. Think about that for a minute. You may be from an immigrant family. Or if you're not, I can guarantee you there are people in your life, there are people in your community, people you interact with every day, probably including people very close to you, who, if they are not first-generation immigrants, their parents immigrated here, or their grandparents immigrated here, or at least their great-grandparents immigrated here. I mean, if you start building those concentric circles out from yourself, all of the first-generation, second-generation, third-generation immigrants in your daily life, among your circle of human beings, almost everybody in this country will end up with quite a lot of people inside those concentric circles in their own lives. My mom immigrated here. My dad was only a generation ahead of her. My partner Susan's grandparents on both sides. I mean, honestly, just think about it. You know a ton of immigrants, if not immigrants' kids, or if not immigrants' grandkids, and if not immigrants' great-grandkids, right? We all do. That's what this country is made up of. Think about those family stories if you know them. Or ask people in your own life who you know have immigrant lineage in one of the last 1, 2, 3 generations. Just ask. Ask if their family member who came over here from another country came with their own positive credit score and a private health insurance policy and lots of money in the bank. I mean, I literally do not know a single person who I can describe, who can describe their lineage that way. I don't know a single person who is a first, second, third-generation immigrant who can say their family member who came over here flush, right? And, I mean, most people I know right? Think of the American dream as this idea of, hardworking people overcoming adversity, coming here maybe with nothing, but believing in this country, believing they can make it here because of freedom and opportunity and the rule of law in this country, so they can build something here for themselves and their families and the next generations of their families who will come after them, because hard work here is rewarded, because you can make it here, because this is a country that is fair and that has opportunity. And no, we do not always live up to that dream, but that's the dream, right? That's the whole story of this country. I mean, just getting rid of even the pretense of that and saying we're only taking rich immigrants from here on out? Who do you know who came here as an immigrant? Who do you know whose parent or grandparent or great-grandparent came here as an immigrant who came here with plenty of money? I mean, that's going to be the new rule? They say within 60 days, that's going to be the new rule. That's not trying to make America great again. That's trying to make America into a whole new country we have never been before in all of the 243 years that we have existed. I mean, what they are trying to build, what they are literally proposing with this rule change today, is that we remake America, whole new idea now, because this time it's without immigrants and also without grizzly bears or manatees or bald eagles or peregrine falcons or humpback whales. Both this immigration change and the endangered species gutting on the same day. Richard Nixon established the Endangered Species Act when he signed it in 1973. But his fellow Republicans have been trying to kill the Endangered Species Act legislatively for years since. They've been trying to chip away at it for decades. It's interesting, though, even though Republicans have stood against it for a long time since Nixon signed it, public opinion polling shows that the American people broadly love the Endangered Species Act and see it as a great and historic success for all the obvious reasons. This new rule released by the Trump administration will see it gutted in 30 days unless the new rule is blocked in court. Both of these dramatic changes unveiled by the Trump administration will now go to court.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.